the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence.
Lawrence Accountability I've accepted their invitation for a debate.
He said Lawrence Accountability will host it. So how about we do 3 debates?
You ever have that feeling where you're not sure if you're awake or still dreaming?
General public comment. I just have one person that is signed up. I'll call them first, and then I'll ask if anybody else would like to provide general public comment. Steve?
Recording stopped.
Good afternoon, good evening. I am Steve Jacob. I am running for County Commission. I am just here because I want to figure out the status of the alcohol treatment center that the taxpayers have spent a lot of money on. I was surprised to find out it was not operational today. I'm sure my voters would love to know why it's not open yet. Hopefully I get a good explanation.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I believe that you're making comment about what's on our regular agenda today.
Okay.
Is that correct? This is a time for general public comment, which is for items or county business that is not on today's business agenda. It sounds like you're making comment about the Treatment and Recovery Center. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Can I ask you to hold your comments until we get to that agenda item, please?
Okay.
Okay.
I guess let me just make general comments.
Okay.
On one thing, Lawrence Accountability I've accepted their invitation for a debate. I'm sure Justin agrees to the debate. Hopefully Patrick will join us. It will be very educational. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else here who would like to provide general public comment?
My name is Dr. Justin Spiehs. I'm running as a Republican candidate for Douglas County Commissioner in District 1, currently held by Patrick Gotten Off Track Kelly there. The reason why I call him Patrick Gotten Off Track Kelly is because recently in the LJ World, Sarah Plinsky is quoted as saying that when it came to the budget over the last year, that they've gotten off track. Steve Jacob here just said that he's going to do a debate, so you're the only one now there, Patrick Kelly. Now, Steve had been dodging that for the last couple of months, every excuse in the book not to do it. I don't know why all of a sudden he wants to do it, but that's great, man. He said Lawrence Accountability will host it, so how about we do 3 debates? Lawrence Accountability gets one, LJ World, you host one, Lawrence Times, I know you're in there listening, you host one as well. Why wouldn't you guys want to host that? I mean, you could bring it'd be really interesting. The community can learn a lot more about us. I don't understand why you'd be so silent on that issue.
So you guys all think we're together. And you did this. You did this. My civic activism in this room started when you guys decided you could arrest people for speaking their voice and you didn't like the words they said. And you've continued on this track the whole way down. Silence and things. And all I'm doing now is just documenting it. And boy, I'd really like to see what all you're writing, because you write a lot and at the most inappropriate times. I'm wondering what you're writing down there. I'm going to have to go back and check the video when Joe was talking and the words that he was saying, and it looked like you actually copied down the word. But the little backhanded stuff that you do to citizens, like interrupting what had moved on to public comment to try to show how Michael was just completely off base for coming up here and questioning anything. That's inappropriate, and it's backhanded. And maybe a lot of civilized people don't get it, but I do. I'm a little more sophisticated than you think. There's a reason that camera back there records and this camera here records and other people are recording. Hell, the Lawrence Times even thinks it's important enough to hear public comment that they're picking up your slack. That doesn't excuse you. You are curating a record. You are having a meeting in which there is no accurate record of this public comment. No recording, correct? No recording of this public comment. So who's writing it word for word? Is that what you're doing there, Miss Willie? Word for word. You have no record of what's happening right here. You have no publicly available record of what's happening right here. Realize this. You created this. You created all of this. When I showed up, the deputies quit arresting people because you got told you couldn't do that shit anymore. Your rules about vulgarity and stuff, I can say whatever the fuck words I want to up here. This is my 3 minutes. That's how this started over a year ago. Me and 3 minutes at a commission meeting speaking my views. Now I have 13,000 subscribers. You guys have created things. I had no subscribers before you people created this mess, this people in this county. Justin had 60 people listening to him. Now he's got a platform. You can't take that shit away from people. You can keep trying to silence it in here, and your newspaper buddy can keep going along and writing half-assed stories and not getting the real truth out there, because there's more to that story about Brad Williams, and I'm happy to tell it for you people. If you'd spend $40 and get a timer over there, maybe Miss Plinsky wouldn't have to hold up signs, and you guys could take some time to get freaking Shannon Portillo off your website.
Hello. The Atlanta Fed reported last week negative GDP growth for the third quarter in a row. People are struggling. Real income's down 17 months in a row. Food, medical, gas, housing are up. We have the biggest long-term credit card debt ever recorded. In Kansas, the inflation rate is over 8%. Douglas County wants utility rates up, not just this year, but for 3 years. Douglas County, people's home values went up. 20% not being uncommon, and we will pay more in taxes. The other counties around Douglas County have managed to alleviate a little of the burden of this economy, but not Douglas County. Why? Well, Douglas County is a one-party government. We have Democrats that have never met a tax hike or a spending proposal they don't like. Douglas County is committed to a long-term plan called Plan 2040, come hell or high water. That's called ideological blindness. I have a feeling the people on the other side of the desks here in this county really don't understand what the fuss is about. From mask mandates to tax increases to censorship, they don't see the connection between the decisions they're making and the negative response they're getting. Are they listening? Do they ask themselves, why are all these people coming? And what are they saying? I wonder if it would ever occur to them to turn on the microphone again, or find another platform, or decrease taxes in an unprecedented economy, or pay attention to actual biology and not CDC political hacks. I recently heard that free speech doesn't give you the right to slander people, not if they're private citizens, but public officials are another matter. If public officials had the option to censor anything they don't like, do you imagine they wouldn't take that route? Of course they would, but that's not what free speech means. George Orwell said, if liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear. Supreme Court Judge Neil Gorsuch ruled this year that argument and counter-argument, not litigation, and I would suggest censorship as well, are the weapons available to resolve disputes. He goes on to say elected officials must shoulder a degree of criticism about their public service from their constituents and their peers. Some of us have never been politically active before, but the response to the pandemic, the overreach of government opened our eyes. If you don't want to be called on the carpet for your decisions, then maybe start listening. I'm looking forward to the upcoming election when I can finally vote for a Republican who is for simple common sense that decreases the tax burden as opposed to virtuous sounding, but not actually virtuous, long-term agendas that lead to ignoring citizens in the here and now. We learned from the 4-H group that was here that our voice can make a difference. And that's what they're teaching their children by sending them to Washington, D.C. on these civics trips. If those kids had stayed, they might realize that Douglas County doesn't let our voice be heard.
That's the mic drop.
Anybody else like?